Welcome to the 200 Movie Challenge, where our goal is to watch 200 movies that we have not seen in 2025. We're on episode 5. So we have four new films, which is going to bring us to a total of 23 so far.
Wow.
I know.
Already? Well, I guess
Already.
it is February, so I guess it makes sense, but
Yeah, we're in the beginning
wow.
of February as we're recording this, but yes, 23. So we're still in a very good pace.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Despite some long ones.
we did have a couple long ones, and a couple short ones. We keep talking about Under the Bed. Let's see how long that stays on the bottom of this fucking list. But we got new ones to talk about, and we definitely have four different movies to talk about this week. So as usual, we like to go back and forth. So we're just going to jump into it. And Soto, I'm going to start off
Yeah.
with you. What was the first movie you watched this past week?
The first movie that I saw this past week was a movie called Hell or High Water, starring Jeff Bridges, Chris Pine. I think Ben Foster is his name. I've seen him in a bunch of other stuff, and this is a movie I had no idea about. I guess it came out in 2016, from my understanding. I was just kicking around on the internet and saw a random review for it, and people were like, "Oh, this is a modern masterpiece." So I was like, "Well, I gotta check this out." So it wasn't free anywhere. I had to rent it all old school style.
Wait. Hold on. I'm going to intertwine and let you.
Uh huh.
So we've had a couple rules while we've been doing this. Even on our
Yes.
little channel. One, no
Yes.
movies longer than like 3 hours, which you've broken.
Oh
Two, we
God, I
joke
know.
about that we never pay for a movie. No, I
Yes.
mean obviously we can. We just joke about that we're cheap. So you've rented a
Hmm.
movie.
I have. This is my first rented movie of this year. It was only $3.99, which back in Blockbuster days, I feel like that was pretty close to the prices, wasn't it? Didn't we charge like two
That was
dollars,
like a new
$3?
release, $3.99, $4.99. The rewards of
Yeah.
the older stuff was like a $1 or $2. So
So
I'm just laughing because you pay for a rental. But anyhow,
well, I was that intrigued into it, and I couldn't let it go, and I like a good kind of a western. It's a modern movie. It's not a western per se, but it actually turned out to be a bank robber movie. So that kind of genre. Jeff Bridges plays like the Texas Ranger. And he's got a great partner that he kind of makes racist comments towards, all in good fun. And then you got Chris Pine and Ben Foster. They play two brothers who are robbing banks. The Chris Pine's character, his role is he has a plan to rob all these banks. He's trying to end up paying the reverse mortgage on his mother's ranch. So they are robbing all these banks in Western Texas, and then now Jeff Bridges gets the hint of what they're doing, and then if you've seen any bank robber movie, then you know what the next steps are. So it's not a movie that's incredibly innovative. When I first saw CBS Pictures kind of come up as the production company, I thought I was going to kind of watch like a Yellowstone situation, which, if you're a fan of Yellowstone, great, but it's a little bit on the cute side for me. And the dialogue was a little cute in this movie, but man, this is the definition of a solid 8. Like, you just are like, this is a solid 8 movie. Like, if you put it on right now, you would watch it all the way to the end. You would be satisfied. And it has, a very solid 3-act structure, which I've been kind of looking for lately. And it's just a good, solid movie. And it didn't really elevate to me until right around the end. So after the third act, and then in the kind of denouement of just the epilogue kind of part of like the movie, there's a scene in there that is just awesome. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it is a great scene of things that are unsaid, and the actors that are in that scene, what's going through their head in that scene, and you can feel the tension. And I audibly, while I was watching, it was like, shit, like, oh my God, like, what's going to happen? Incredibly satisfying. The bank robber genre, obviously huge. We can obviously reference, a masterpiece like Reservoir Dogs, which is just an awesome like bank robber movie. Is Hell or High Water on the same level as like Heat? I would say Heat is probably still a better movie, but Hell or High Water, I thought was awesome. It was solid in the way that The Fall Guy was solid. It was just incredibly digestible, entertaining, and to me, I thought this was probably the best Chris Pine movie I've seen where he's in it. I enjoyed him the most. Probably close to like Dungeons and Dragons, because I really liked him in that, the new Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. That movie is slept on. But I was on a Baldur's Gate 3 kick and I watched it for free on Amazon. I thought Dungeons and Dragons was awesome. But this one is just, again, you put this on a Saturday night, you don't know what to watch. You are going to be incredibly satisfied with this movie, and you may end up buying it on Blu-ray because this is a movie that I'll probably end up watching it again in the future. I thought it was that good.
Where do you think this ranks so far on your list? Because I think this is your 10th movie now. Yeah, this is your 10th movie. Woo.
Yeah.
But where does this rank on your list?
Yeah, so I thought about what you said last week too. I've been thinking about, entertainment wise and how things kind of make me feel, and just kind of rolling that into my general vibe. And I'm putting this above Eraserhead and below Lawrence of Arabia. So it's going to take the number 2 spot because this is the first solid movie that I've seen that I will probably see again. That, Eraserhead I may see again as well, but Eraserhead is a tough movie to wrap your mind around, and I would have to be in a very specific mood to have to watch Eraserhead again, because I wouldn't say that Eraserhead from a purely movie watching standpoint was enjoyable, although I could understand obviously the art side of it. But Hell or High Water is first movie of the year that I paid for, and it shoots right up to number 2.
You got your money's worth. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
I might buy this motherfucker, man. I might buy this.
Soda might have a physical copy of something.
Yeah, I fucking might. Absolutely. I think that this might be the first one. If I see it at Best Buy, well, actually, Best Buy doesn't even have physical media. If I see this on Amazon and it's like that sweet spot of like $15, I'll buy it. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
No, I can't remember a lot of older Chris Pine movies. I remember I liked him even before Star Trek, because I know that seemed to have been like the big one for him. Mm-hmm. And I was, as you were saying, some more of the recent hit, I'm like, I can't remember. There was a couple I liked. I'm not going to say I loved, but they were enjoyable. But I always did like him as an actor.
Yeah, I find him really funny. He was really good. If you haven't seen Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, I really enjoyed that. It surprised me in the way that, like, I don't know if you've seen the new Jumanji with The Rock.
No,
but I thought that was going to be like a piece of shit. And I was on a business trip down south, and Sarah watched it and she was like, "You got to see Jumanji." And I was like, "Why would I want to see that?" I was like, I love the original one with Robin Williams. Why would I ever see this new stupid crap? That's how I went into it. And it's got another secret ingredient in it. It's kind of my secret ingredient that always kind of gets me there, and that's Kevin Hart. And Kevin Hart makes me fucking laugh just by looking at him. And his chemistry that he has with The Rock and Jumanji, dude, I was pissing my pants. And Jumanji surprised the shit out of me. Like, I was like, this is awesome. I mean, the sequel, whatever, like, because obviously the first one was a surprise. But that's kind of like the same kind of level of surprise where with Dungeons and Dragons, where I was like, I went into it, I'm like, how good could this be? And then I started watching it and I was like, this is fucking great, because Chris Pine, he just had like a great charisma, and he was like the kind of rogue type, in which he fit really well in. And in Hell or High Water, he's not the rogue type. He's a lot more serious, but again, I've liked he's grown on me. How about I say that?
And yes, I do want to see the new Jumanji, not the sequel, but like the first Jumanji. I do like The Rock and Kevin Hart.
It's so
I love Jack Black and even Karen Gillian.
He's so good. Oh my God, Jack Black. I forgot.
So it's a great cast. So I say, and I know it's a different style than the Robin Williams one from what I've seen of previews, like, and I'm fine with that. Like, okay, because that's like in a way a remake, but they did something a lot different. You know what I mean? So it is on my list. Hopefully somewhere down the line, I'll have to check if that's free, but.
Dude, you'll love it. Yeah. Trust me. It's no thinking will be involved. You're just gonna.
I like that.
And again, I'm old enough to not care about the original thing to Jumanji, but it's a totally different movie from the original Jumanji, and it's done really well. And Jack Black, besides Kevin Hart, Jack Black's like probably like the second best character. Jack Black is friggin' hilarious in that movie.
All right, Soto, let's get to your second movie. What was the...
What a tonal shift this is going to be.
All 4 of our films are going to be kind of total shifts. We're going to get into it shortly. I was actually quite surprised at your next movie. It's something that I brought up in our first episode, like that was going to be on my radar. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really comment too much, but I saw that it was free. So when you said that you watched it, I'm like, damn, I will be honest, I did not expect that from you this early, I guess. But I'm going to give you the floor. Tell us your second movie and tell us why you chose it.
Well, I had had a few beers and I just was kind of looking around the old streaming options and I saw it. I also checked my letterbox and I keep like a watch list on there and I saw it and then I saw it on Max and I said, I'm going to pull the trigger. It's only 2 hours long. And it was there. And I had already seen Oppenheimer. So, why not make it a pair? I will say that if I had ever gone to the theater and done an Oppenheimer and a Barbie double feature, I don't know if I would have made it. I don't know if there's enough alcohol in the world to make it from that. I'm not saying Barbie's a bad movie at all. I actually enjoyed it. Way different, obviously, tone than Hell or High Water, but I enjoyed it. I've said this before and I will continue to say it probably for the rest of the year, but I fucking love Ryan Gosling. I love him in everything he's in. If he's in a movie, I'm watching it. Oddly enough, I haven't seen The Notebook, so maybe that'll be the challenge this year, where it's like Soto watches The Notebook because he loves Ryan Gosling. Oh god, I may have fucked myself there, but yeah, I love everything that he's in, and I thought this was movie. It was tongue in cheek. I get the whole vibe and the thing that was going for. It was nominated for Oscars, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I don't know if I'd say that, but
I don't even think it won any. Hold on, I
I
am
mean, it may
kind
have
of
been
looking it
nominated,
up
but
as
I
we.
didn't think it was it was a quirky, fun movie, and I enjoyed the overall experience, but I wouldn't say this is an Oscar when I think of Oscar movies. But same thing about Oppenheimer, but whatever.
So it was nominated for four, didn't win
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
Nominated for Best Picture because now there's
Wow.
10. So, well, remember, there's 10 instead of 5. So it's a little bit easier to get a Best Picture nom. It's almost like a participation trophy. I'm sorry. They
That's
never should have gone to 10. I am
that's
going to stick on that.
bananas.
It's the only one that I think went to 10.
This movie was
Best
nominated for
Supporting
Best
Actor,
Picture.
Ryan Gosling.
Oh, well, I
So
agree
he
with
was
that.
nominated. Best Supporting Actress, America Ferrera. And then Best Adapted Screenplay. I think there was a song in there that a lot of people expected to get nominated and it didn't, and that was kind of the hoopla. I'm not sure. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, it didn't win anything, but it was nominated for 4. But
It was quirky. It was enjoyable. I don't know if I'll ever see it again. It's Barbie. It's the classic. You have the Barbie movie, but then Barbie starts. The real world starts coming in, and oh my god, Barbie's perfect life now has to deal with the complications of the real world. Like, how many movies have I described to you just now?
a
Like, you'd
lot.
probably think of a few and be like, oh yeah, yep, that is a plot that I've seen before in a movie. Again, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying this movie is bad. I'm just saying that it's just kind of whatever to me. It was well shot. The sets were awesome. Love the colors. Um, the songs were fine. Although the Billie Eilish song that is the main song of it, which is like this "What Was I Made For" kind of a song thing. Um, because of the internet, I can't hear that song without hearing like the lyrics instead of being the lyrics having a cat meowing it. Because there's so many internet jokes where it's like meow 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 meow. So when I hear that song, it takes away from the emotional impact because I just think of TikTok and cats being like, I wish that my human would feed me. So that kind of took me out of
I'll be
probably a
honest, I
very
didn't know about that. I've heard that trend. Seen the meow meow. I didn't know it was from that song.
It's from Barbie, Chad. It's from Barbie, and when the song started playing, I started saying out loud because I was drunk. I started saying meow 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 during it, and it was during a very like no offense to the people who made this. I know it was a lot of work got put into it, but I'd had a few beers, and I'm on the internet a lot, and I heard that part, and I couldn't help myself. So, um, yeah, I don't know if that was the song that was nominated, but overall as an experience, it was. I'm glad that I saw Barbie. I don't think I'll see it again. And so, as far as a ranking goes, I'm putting it above Oppenheimer because I still think it was more entertaining than Oppenheimer. I actually laughed in Barbie at times. And of course, yes, I have mentioned that I was under the influence. But Oppenheimer was just a boring ass movie. That I get it. It's like, it's Christopher Nolan, who is, I've always said certain things about. I love Inception. Memento, I forget about. We talked about that before. I'm like, I can't even remember that that's like Christopher Nolan because it's so long ago. And but I don't like
The Dark Knight
the Batman
trilogy.
movies.
Yeah.
Like they suck.
But see, I always think of Nolan as the old school, like you said, the Memento, Inception, Following was another one I like. So to me, that's still Christopher Nolan to me. I don't really put that Batman trilogy on him too much. Like it doesn't.
People love the Batman trilogy though.
I didn't have a problem with it, but we're not going to get into that because that
that's a
might be a
whole
discussion for another
episode.
day.
Like Christopher
We've
Nolan.
done it. I think we've already kind of got into it once, but
yeah.
So Barbie, I'm almost like Barbenheimer.
You did.
Right above Oppenheimer.
You did. Yeah, they're tied together forever. Yes, but Barbie's above Oppenheimer because it was more entertaining than Oppenheimer. I'm not saying I don't like Oppenheimer. I understand it. I get why, but as a movie, I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. We'll see if anything gets in between Barbie and Oppenheimer. I mean, it's very early on, and I'm sure something will, but I'm going to laugh if they're still right neck to neck at the end of this year for you. We'll see.
They seem like they should be, but
they should be, but you never know. I mean, ranking 100 films.
I've never done it in my life. It's hard for me
to and it might be more. It could be more because we could, the pace. It's
definitely going to be more.
We're going to, so I'm just saying, we're 100, but then, you could be ranking 120 for all you know.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, I know it's just a list, but I'm like, that's the hilarity about the series. Like, that's why I'm like, we have to do this. Trying to be like 60 movies in and be like, where do I put this? And
it's like, you're going to have to think of so many nuanced ideas and reasons. And again, if something is worse than Under the Bed, I will watch it.
All right, we'll get to that because we need to talk about my two titles. And so this week, after last week, my wife did Les Mis and she wanted me to see that. I'm like, I didn't know what to watch this week. A lot of times I don't have an idea going into it. I just go into a streaming service and just see what pops up. But this week, I'm like, both my movies I took from requests. And the first one came off of Twitter, or X, excuse me. When we first started this, I obviously put stuff out there. And there's someone who I used to play some Call of Duty with a long time ago. She suggested two movies. Operation Fortune with Jason Statham, which wasn't free. But the second movie she suggested, and one that I did end up watching, is the movie Lift. Coincidentally enough, with Kevin Hart. Going back to this discussion now. Before we get into this movie, Soto, I do find Kevin Hart funny. I like a lot of his stand-up. I've not seen a lot of the movies that he starred in, because if we talk about the times when I stopped watching movies the last 10, 15 years, whatever, like that's where he kind of got big. I do remember some older movies he's been in when he was the side character, 40-Year-Old Virgin. I think he was in Soul Plane. So again, he was a great side character, but I've never seen him in a leading man role that I can think of because, again, I've not watched a lot of movies recently. So whatever, I'm like, I need to go into this blind. I'm going to see a Kevin Hart film and the movie Lift. We're going to play a game in a little bit, but have you seen these movies? Do you remember Ocean's 11?
I sure do.
Do you remember Italian Job, The Score? The part about this was a lot of this was predictable. So everything that we've watched movie-wise, this just followed the formula.
Yeah.
So they start off with like the big, caper in the beginning, the cops are watching, and you're like, well, this is the beginning. They're going to somewhat get away with this. And I'm like, yep, there it is. Yep, they get away. Oh, they tricked the police that was watching them, blah, blah, blah. Like everything played into, everything played out. I said, okay. Now, Soto, but one of them did get caught because he's kind of master disguise and they see him. And, the cop who was a former love interest of Kevin Hart, guess where that's going to go at the end of this movie, Soto?
Yeah.
Wow. Kind of like, well,
it's like I'm watching the movie.
It is. And it is. You're watching everything that has happened in basically theft movies, heist movies. That's the word I'm looking for. Heist movies. Heist. Yeah. I was trying to get the word.
Heist is different than bank robber. It's a little bit.
Yeah. No. I was trying to get, that's why I said The Score, Ocean's 11, Italian Job. Those are heist.
The score was terrible. But...
I barely remembered, but I just was trying to rattle off things that, anyhow. So yes, they were like, well, we need your help because now this one big guy played by Jean Reno, is basically moving gold, and they want Kevin Hart and his team to steal the gold from him, and in exchange, they get immunity from everything they've done in the past. So my God, it's $500 million of gold. Now, What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Kevin Hart and his team are going to basically steal it and give it to the cops, or is there going to be a trick at the end where they've
Uh-huh.
stolen both? So the action scenes were fine.
Yep.
The hard part about this was just such an uninspired movie.
Oh.
Everything was formulaic. Kevin Hart, I did laugh at some parts. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It
Mm-hmm.
was enjoyable for what it was. There is nothing new. Everything that was happening, I called out. The whole premise: they are not gonna steal like the crate of gold. They're gonna somehow steal and swap the plane where the gold is traveling on. So that's kind of the big thing.
Oh.
That's kind of the idea. So
Well,
they're
that's
gonna.
kind of cool.
It is. So right before they have this plan, because obviously they got to trick the air traffic control. Someone's got to steal the other plane. One guy's like, I can't do this. This is too much of a risk, and I'm like, nope. He's going to still be a part of this. He's just going to do something different. And lo and behold, yes, there was always a backup plan. So I'm like, that's the problem. Like everything I was watching, I'm like, I have seen this movie
Yeah.
multiple times in different formats. There was nothing new that I brought to the table outside of Kevin Hart. And I try not to laugh at him getting into a fight scene. I'm like, dude, you're little. I'm sorry. Like,
That's what I thought
luckily,
this movie was about. Because when you said it was called Lift, I was like, is it about the lifts that he wears in his shoes? Like, what could this movie possibly be?
nope. Yeah, everything we're like, we're going to lift the plane. That's the word. You're laughing, but that is a line in this movie.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I believe it.
It was a fun watch. I'm not gonna lie about it. It was just nothing new. I am gonna go the rest next week. I'm gonna forget about this movie, but it was everything we have seen in heist movies.
Did Jean Reno double cross them?
No, he got caught because he was the bad guy. It was just there was a separate cop
Yep.
that was kind of the head FBI agent and whatnot that was gonna blow up the plane with like the love interest slash other cop basically because the one that likes Kevin Hart.
Sure.
Anyhow, and yeah, so he got the gold, but because of the switch, it wasn't the real gold. Kevin Hart stole the $500 million. It was just like everything. I'm just watching this like, oh, this is going to happen, and it does. Oh, this is going to happen, and it does. Great cast again, fun movie, but Soto, yeah, I watched it. And it's not memorable. Like I think I was doing other things while this movie was playing. I was getting kind of writing for this. I'm like, give me something original, and it didn't. And because of that, Soto, don't worry, it's not going under the bed.
It can't. It can't.
But it's going right above it. It's going right above it.
Sure.
Which
Even
puts
if it's
it right
formulaic, it's better than under the bed.
Here's the funny thing. It's right underneath Tag. To me, Tag, yes, as silly as a premise as it is something fucking original.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Tell me any movie with adults playing tag. You can't.
No.
Tell me a heist movie. I'm sure we can list off 10. Hell, you kind of watched one, in a way. So
I did, yeah.
And again, they can be good. Just give me something different. And yeah, so this was not probably Kevin Hart's at his finest. It wasn't a comedy. I mean, obviously, it had funny parts, but it was more like an action thriller, So it wasn't like a Jumanji or things we've just talked about. So I am still going to watch more of the comedic roles that Kevin Hart does because I think I may check out Jumanji. But Lift was just, I was bored with it. And I didn't want to be, again, some of the action scenes were fun. They were great to watch, but it was nothing new. I called everything that happened and I'm laughing. I'm like, yep, here we go with this. I just couldn't. And that's why it is so low on my list. Give me something new. But it's a Kevin Hart film, so I'll leave it at that.
Kevin Hart. I think you like Jumanji a lot better than this one.
I probably, like I said, I like the rest of the cast. I like The Rock. And, we just talked about Jack Black. But that is meant to be more of a comedy, so I'm like, I'm going to be okay with that. Lift was just, again, a heist movie that we've all seen. If you watched many movies, you've seen Lift. You could probably be writing right now a heist movie, slip it in, and be like, oh, yeah, that's pretty much Lift right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I can picture the whole movie.
Yeah, see, and there it is. As I was talking, you're like, oh, yeah, I kind of know that plot point. Oh, yeah, I know that plot device, and you're like, yep, that's it. And everything happens. They drink their champagne at the end, and that's it. But, yeah, I mean, the cast, they made money. They made a lot of money throughout this. But yeah, no, Soto, it wasn't, like I said, it didn't give me anything new. I mean, so it's not the worst thing I've seen, but it's kind of second to last right now. So
fair. Yeah, that's okay. There's a big ocean between Under the Bed and Lift, and I'm sure
Oh,
will be
there'll
movies in
probably be
between.
stuff in between. There's going to definitely be stuff in between. Like I said, I mean, for those who just want a mindless action thriller, it's fine. Watch it. If you haven't seen heist movies, then you might, well, we just kind of spoiled it for you, but maybe you'll forget. But yes, if you've seen heist movies, you've seen
Maybe we'll
Lift. I'm
forget.
sorry. Our series kind of goes into spoiling. It happens,
Yeah, we do.
I mean, except for when we think the other, I know you're not going to probably run out and see Lift. I mean,
No.
it's not on your list.
Nope.
But you know what? I took the request. I always said if anyone answers or comments a movie, if it's free for us, I will do my best to check it out. So yes, I will definitely. That's why I checked out Lift and Operation Fortune. I mean, Jason Statham. I'm kind of thinking that's going to be the same movie, but if that's free, I'm like, well,
It's the same
we'll see.
fucking
We'll see.
movie. If you are into Jason Statham, then you know exactly what you're getting into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Soto, time for my fourth and the final film of this podcast. And yes, we are definitely going to change tonality of this and direction. So this is a request from you.
Yes.
This is actually something you kind of brought up in your review, and I saw the TV Glow. You mentioned this movie.
I sure did.
And at the time, you did not challenge me to see it, but I think after the podcast we were talking, and you threw it out there. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So first of all, the movie, obviously, and there's going to be a lot of talk about this, Emilia Perez.
Yes.
Obviously, 13 Academy Award nominations. Why did you want me to watch this compared to you?
Well, because I'd seen so many clips of this movie out of context, and we all know social media is not really the truth. And so there were so many things that I saw, some of the scenes in this movie that I had watched that I could not believe were actually real scenes. And then, the discourse around it being nominated for Oscars and everything, I just was like, this makes no sense to me. This movie looks like garbage. But I had only been shown scenes out of context. We know that movies are not just scenes alone, like it's context and it's weight and it's storylines that drive these things that kind of make them make sense. And so I wanted to have somebody's objective opinion, somebody that I trust, somebody who's seen a lot of these movies and has seen a lot of plot lines and can make an objective decision without being swayed one way or another, which is just watch a movie. Because I feel that I love trailers. I really do. It's my favorite part of going to the movies, is sitting down and watching trailers. People can complain and say, oh my God, it's 30 minutes trailers. Give me 30 minutes trailers in the movie theater, not at home. At home, I'm like, no, I'm skipping that shit. But in the movie, seeing a trailer is like this amazing thing. But the thing with the trailer is that it can set you up for different expectations. And so when you watch a trailer, I'll never forget, I saw the trailer for the movie Sin City. And man, I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, Sin City is going to be the greatest thing I've ever seen. This trailer is just awesome. And I felt that because I had those preconceived notions, that I came away from that movie disappointed. I still don't think Sin City is a good movie. I know people disagree with me on that. I have a love-hate relationship with Robert Rodriguez, if I'm being 100% honest. But, with Emilia Perez, I had seen things out of context and I had heard the discourse, and I wanted to talk to somebody who had actually seen it without knowing anything about it and could give me an actual review of this movie and actually tell me, is the hype worth it for this movie?
So yeah, there's going to be a lot of serious tone that I'm going to be discussing with. The best way, before I do, it's kind of going to be broken down into 3 acts. I mean, which I know a lot of movies is, but you'll understand why. And the only thing I did know, and because a lot of times I'm getting like our pictures or thumbnails ready, and you ask me go into it blind because I had never heard of this. I did know that it was nominated in 13 Academy Awards. I'm like, okay. By the pictures, I'm like, okay, this is going to be the main front face, the main actress. I'm like, this is about a trans person. So I'm like, okay, those are the only 2 things I knew going in. Now I'm saying that before I start my review. So, and that it's a musical. You did tell me it was a musical.
Yes,
so I I forgot the third part. I did know it was a musical.
That was crucial to this because you're like, I love musicals.
Which was
do you? Because I have something that you might want to look into.
Yeah, so obviously, because you knew I saw Les Mis last week. Yes. Yeah, so anyhow, I'm starting this. Now, first of all, I do not have a problem with musicals.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely don't have a problem with foreign films.
Mm-hmm.
I usually watch foreign films with subtitles on. I feel you get more of the emotion out of their native tongue or what's being spoken than you can with dubbed. Yes, you're reading, but you just kind of hear the inflection. I've always, for the most part, watch it with subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
Very rare, depends, unless I'm watching with someone. I'm fine, if it's dubbed, that's great. But watching a musical, a foreign musical, in subtitles was a little bit difficult at first.
You'd mentioned that.
And yes, I did text you
In our
because like,
text,
it's this
yeah.
whole thing. This movie does go between Spanish and English, which great.
I didn't know.
Well, anyone that's seen what's basically all over social media sees mostly the English parts.
Yes, you are correct.
So yes, I'm like, I was like, what do I do? I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to try, because you're trying to focus on everything on screen, but obviously I do not understand the words. And, because the very first song, Zoe Saldana is singing and dancing, and my God, she's friggin' awesome. Like, I always loved her in Guardians of the Galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
and she just nails everything. She's I didn't know she was a great singer. I watched a documentary on this afterwards, saw, she had a dancing background. So she nailed this part. And so so I'm trying to, again, focus what's going on, but reading to understand the words that are being said,
Mm-hmm.
which again is very hard. So she is a lawyer. So the story is, we start off with Zoe. She is a lawyer. She's basically like, she's not the main one, but she gets everything ready for the main lawyer. Like, she takes all the notes.
Mm-hmm.
She's, the most organized. You see in the courtroom where the lawyer's kind of lost his place, he comes for a glass of water. She kind of points away to the paper, like she's mouthing word for word what his statement is saying. So she's doing all the work, getting none of the credit. She's very organized, so she's great at her job. The beginning of this movie, the music and the dancing is very robotic, and that's the way that first song was meant to be, and that's the way everything happens in the beginning, because she's just living the same thing every day. We joked about this with retail life, like, oh my God, fuck this shit.
Oh yeah.
But then she gets kidnapped, and the main point of the story is it's a drug lord. Now, as we said, this movie's about trans. He's like, listen, this is what I want. He tells her, I want to get the final parts of the sex change.
Mm-hmm.
And she asks a question, why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you want a sex change? Or are you doing this to try and get away? He's like, if I answer that question, you have to be in. Like, you can leave right now. And he slides her a piece of paper with like a statement, and she sees like the money, and she's like, she asked the question again. And so he wants her, because obviously he's a huge drug cartel.
Mm-hmm.
He can't go around doing a lot of things that he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants her to do all the research. And he's like, you and I are the only persons that have access to these accounts. So basically saying, use whatever money you can to travel and find out. You can use whatever you need to find out the info. Hence a couple of those songs that are well out of place that I think that you saw.
Yeah.
So what happens
makes a lot
is,
of sense now in context.
So she's going around, and I think that's why that song is as quirky and as weird as it is, because now we go from what the beginning was a little bit robotic, the dancing, it was meant to be that way. And to her, she's into a whole new world. But yeah, she's asking all these questions because she wants to help him. And I don't know what his name was before, Emilia Perez, but I am going to call him him. Yeah, so she finds out the information, and he's going to basically go get the sex change. So the act one ends with him getting ready to transform into a woman. Now, before he does that, though, he has a wife and he has 2 kids.
Yes.
So he's meeting with Zoe, the lawyer. He's meeting with the doctor. He knows what he has to do. He's like basically saying he has to give them up because he cannot go back to the life as a drug lord, being a trans person.
In that culture, yeah. Absolutely.
In that culture, yes, exactly. Because that's why and he's already started. So it's not like this is a on the whim thing. He actually flashes Zoe, the lawyer, her name's Rita, and basically shows that he is serious, about this, but he can't do the final. He wants everything done. We're not just talking about partial transition, full transition. That's why he needs her, because he can't. Everyone knows him, and obviously, if he came back into that, like, he would definitely die because, or not be taken serious. So he sends his wife and kids to Switzerland, basically telling them we're protecting you because there's some people that want to kill me and I don't want you in the crossfire. And he does get the transition, and basically they put out a statement that he has been killed and burned alive. So So that is kind of the big act one. Then it goes on a 4-year jump.
Wow.
And this is where the movie gets good. And I think a lot of people that I was reading some comments about this movie
Mm-hmm.
before I get into what the movie is really about. And, because yes, there is a lot of love and hate for this movie. There's a lot of people who are like, well, why don't we see like him dealing with, wanting to become trans? So, just, and I'm like, that's not the point. We meet this character already there.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's afterwards. So 4 years later, Zoe is at a dinner with her other lawyer friends, and Emilia Perez is at the same table.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't know that it's her right away, but it clicks at the table as they're talking. She just kind of realizes during a statement, she's like, "Oh my God, are you here by chance? Are you trying to kill everyone that knows? And I'm the last one." And all this in song too. And she's like, "No, I am not here by chance." She wants her kids back. She wants to bring her kids back into life. And that's part one of the problem, because obviously me and you and a lot of people that might be listening don't know what it's like to want to transition.
Mm-hmm.
And those people who do, yes, they look into it and they want to do it. But there's always that one thing you seriously don't think about. This person, Emilia Perez, has, went 4 years without her kids.
Yeah.
And kind of wants them back in her life because she misses them. That's kind of now the piece. Like, okay, I'm now this new person. I am happier. And also she starts a foundation because she knows a lot of these bad guys where they bury the people and people are upset. So she starts a foundation to help find missing people. Like, she's doing so much good in the world. Like, she kind of jumps away from the whole drug cartel world. So Selena Gomez, I didn't even mention, is the wife. And she is fucking amazing in this too. Like, I only knew Selena Gomez from Wizards of Waverly Place. I don't want to get into more, but it's that for the people who can get past that first act, because it is a lot. And I get that not everyone's going to love musicals. Not everyone's going to love foreign films. And some people are going to be uncomfortable with the subject matter of the first act. But the second two acts, it's also like, is her secret going to come out?
Right.
Because, obviously that is there because
that's where the tension is.
Unlike because of the drug cartel. So I don't want to, get into it, but I do see a lot of love and hate for this film. And the hate is unfortunate. I think people who can get past the first act, they're going to watch an amazing movie. I think people who misthought what this movie was truly about, because some people are like, this is about no, this movie, yes, the first act deals with transitioning, but that's not actually the point of the story. And yes, a couple of those songs, Soto, are funny and absurd, but I think they're meant to be in that part. And again, Zoe Saldana just nails it. And I think she's nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I think the lead actress is nominated for Best Actress, which we're going to get to in a moment. But yeah, Soto, this is by far an amazing film. And it's well done. Yeah, I don't know what much else to say. I kind of want to keep going to the story, but I don't want to ruin it. But yeah, Soto, it is worth the 13 Academy Awards.
Wow.
I've read
a
lot
musical the whole way?
No, it's not. It's dialogue and then yes, some songs. So I think it's easier. It's not like when I said Les Mis was something where every line of dialogue was sung.
Yeah.
So no, there is scenes and then they'll break out into song.
I'm okay with that. I think that,
and that's what
when I saw, I was saying earlier, seeing it out of context, I just knew, the subject matter to me, it doesn't, it is what it is. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, art is art. And if it's talking about a human experience, like, I don't care the subject matter. I just found the musical parts out of context to be so ridiculous that
it's that one song. Yeah.
That when you are framing that with what an Oscar nominated movie is, if you have no other context and information, you're just like, what the fuck is going on with the Oscars? Because you're like, this is not a movie that even looks like a good movie. But you're like, well, if you watch the movie from beginning to end, why. Then you'll get why it is. But we react so quickly to the clips because that's how we are right now. And so that's why I wanted somebody that had not seen it to tell me if this movie was worth it.
It's worth it. And so the funny thing is, this movie actually was shot, I think, mostly in Paris. The director is a French director. So you got a French director, basically a Mexican and English, mainly, and a lot of interpreters. I actually afterwards watched on Netflix, it kind of popped up like a behind the scenes. I'm like, all right, let me watch this because I knew how I felt about it. I'm like, I need to say a little bit more. And yeah, it was, like I said, the cast, the acting everything was amazing. Everything was just great. And the story is believable. And it does suck you in. But if you can't get past, I know where people say, if you hit that song and you're just like, what the fuck's this? I'm out. You're missing to what the, and I get it. You know what? Some people are just like, if you're into music, like, all right, that is,
It just looks
well
stupid.
beyond my
It
taste.
just looked dumb, but it's out of
It
context.
is very out of context,
Hmm.
but it is even out of context in the movie. But I think it's meant to be.
But it has an effect.
It's meant to make you uncomfortable because a lot of us don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
And, this is what it really is. Like these questions, because that's what the whole thing is. Zoe asking for questions. What is this? What
Yes.
is this?
Yeah.
And then penis to vagina, vagina.
Yes.
And it's just so weird. And it's
Yeah.
meant to put you in that place. The third act is starting, and you realize what's happening. You're just like, damn, like you feel it.
So Oscar
Yes,
worthy.
100%. Which brings me to the sad fact, and I'm not going to get into it, but the lead actress obviously was the very first trans woman to be nominated for an Academy Award. And I don't know the full extent, but obviously she said some things in a past tweet, and there's now a blacklist on her. Netflix not even paying her to show up, but they're like events and stuff like that. They won't pay for her travels. So I don't know exactly. It's just
Wow.
sad because I think that's going to get lost in this movie. Like
Yeah.
this movie is going to suffer because of that incident, which I don't agree with. But like even like again, Zoe Saldana is just like I'm against these kind of things. I want this movie to represent this movie is supposed to be about acceptance and love. Yeah, so Soto, it is highly worth the 13 Academy Awards. Will it win Best Picture? Probably not. I don't know what else is nominated. I think this tweet has done a lot of damage. I heard like Demi Lovato was more favored to get Best Actress. I don't know. I do want Zoe Saldana to at least get Best Actress and hopefully that Best Original Song because I think I know which song it is. And it was just she nailed it, and
But
that's
it's a
kind of
film,
sad.
though. Where
As
does it
so
rank?
so that so yes, I take away all
Hmm.
everything that's happened outside of it, and I'm just watching this film. And yes, I do like musicals, and I love foreign films. I do not have a problem. So this is easily number one. It
Wow.
goes above Jim Henson. I mean,
Oh
again,
my
I if you
God.
take a look at my
Ladies and
list,
gentlemen, this is a new number one.
I knew Jim Henson was going to last number one because I know some other movies I'm going to get to, and I don't know if Emilia Perez will stay at number one because again, not to spoil what I'm going to watch, but there's a couple like I feel are going to be above this just because they're old school classics that I have not seen, and I could be wrong. So yeah, no, this movie did everything. It's a very original story, even outside of the transition part. There's a
Yeah.
lot of meat to this, and it is a great musical. Yes, that one scene, if you're watching it on TikTok or Instagram, whatnot, yes, it is an absurd song. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say.
Hmm. It is absurd, and it made me think that the Hollywood has lost its mind. But now I'm hearing your opinion. I'm like, okay, I feel better about it.
Well, again, I know from what I've read, there's also some, LGBT that are coming out against this even before the allegations because, like, well, it should have dealt with this. I'm like, it should have dealt with this. And
It's
that's
a
why I'm like, it's not
movie. It's gonna
supposed to.
be a movie. It's gonna be a movie in its own thing. Like,
So, last thing I know we've gone on a lot about this, but one more quick scene.
yeah.
So, obviously, again, this is when the kids come back. And Zoe Saldana's telling Amelia Perez, like, hey, you got to be careful. You're not their father. You're their aunt. I mean, even
Hmm.
a cousin. Just don't kiss them so much. Just like forbearance. So there's one scene where she goes to tuck in the oldest, and they've started accepting her. They miss life in Switzerland and skiing and shit like that, but still. And then there's a scene like she's like, "Oh, you smell like this. You kind of smell like my papa." Now, again, great scene because it's a nice, genuine scene between the daughter and Amelia Perez, kind of remembering that to give her that. And she can't tell her, like, I'm your dad, obviously. But people are like, well, if you're taking hormones, the smell of the little. I'm like, it's a fucking movie, people. Deal
Oh
with
my
it. Like,
God,
not
it's a
everything needs to
movie.
be
Oh,
scientifically accurate.
right.
If you're, it's one thing if you don't like
It's not a
musicals. It's
documentary.
one thing if you don't, exactly. If it's a documentary and they're saying that, be like, okay, that's BS. That's fine. It's a fucking movie. If you don't like foreign films, that's fine.
Yeah.
I know they're not for everyone. If the subject matters too much for you, that's fine. That's your opinion.
Hmm.
But like if you're picking apart random things that aren't funny just to be hateful, I'm like, no. I'm like,
Hmm.
come on. It's just a movie. It was a wholesome moment for the child, and kind of it starts putting to Amelia Perez what she gave up to be who she is, and she stuck to it.
Mm.
It is definitely worth the kind. 13. I mean, I don't know everything got nominated for, but again, I am so rooting for Zoe Saldana. She carried this film. I mean, they all did. It was a great overall cast, but you can, even though she got best supporting, she was kind of like, you see the story through her eyes, and that's the thing, because she's kind of the outsider to the drug cartel, the drug lord, that world. So that's why you see everything. So I'm rooting for her come Academy season. So yes, if you get a chance and you're willing to do it,
Yeah.
get past the first act. If you're like,
Well, I'm
yeah, it's too
curious
much for me,
now.
it's okay. Yeah, it's I would like to get your opinion, but yes, that song, I'm laughing. Yeah, man to woman, woman to man, penis to
Yeah.
vagina. Like, it was just a point blank. I'm like, okay, but that is the only song that's really out of it. But yes, there's other parts they sing, but it's not. It's a good mix. It's not like everything is sung.
Well, it
So
sounds like you're
yes,
saying that the movie has an emotional heart to it, and
it
it
is.
wasn't
It is a very
predictable like
powerful movie.
Lift. So you saw bottom of the barrel of your list, and then you had a new number one. You had the whole entire spectrum of the list happened, and you were putting it off. You're like, oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna make. Well, I haven't watched the movie yet this week. You just hit it with Emilia Perez. So now
Monday and Tuesday, I
now I'm
think. Well, yeah,
genuinely interested. There might be a time where I'm like, I feel like I have to watch this, especially as we get closer to the Oscars. I'm gonna feel like I have to. It's on Netflix. It's free.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's a Netflix. They produced it, so yeah, it's a Netflix movie. So there is a lot of heart to this, and I think there is a lot of hate to it for different reasons, and it shouldn't get the hate. But unfortunately, because of the subject matter, it's going to. And you know what? Hollywood has done movies like this before. Just where it's going to get hate from the fans or people,
I
and
mean,
nothing you can do.
dude, a
So
movie's a movie,
that,
and it's judged on its own, as you like to say, every fucking episode. It's judged on the fucking rules that it sets and how well it follows those motherfucking rules. That's what makes the movie a movie, and how it plays with expectations and everything. I mean, you were checked out on Lyft, and you were incredibly engaged on Emilia Perez, and it doesn't matter what the fucking subject matter is. All that matters is like, does this fucking movie do its job?
that is episode 5 of our 200 movie challenge. I might watch something lighthearted the next couple for the next episode. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But if you do watch Amelia Clark, let me know. So I
Amelia
am
Perez. Amelia
definitely
Clark is, I think,
Perez. I'm sorry,
she
Amelia
was in
Clark.
freaking
That's an actual
Game of
actress. I'm sorry,
Thrones.
Amelia.
Game of Thrones.
Yes, yes. I'm sorry.
It's funny that
If you want,
you mentioned Amelia Clark, because a lot of people, they hearken Selena Gomez's Spanish as sounding like Amelia Clark in Game of Thrones when she's speaking Dothraki or whatever, because she's been getting made fun of. There's been a lot of hate towards this movie, and again, just circle back. I'm glad that somebody that I trust watched this, because now I could be like, I'm gonna check this out. Just I'm so happy and grateful that I've got the lowdown on Emilia Perez, and I might check it out. I don't know what I'm going to watch this week. I might watch something older. I'm not sure. Going to be a big snowstorm this weekend. Obviously, we got the Super Bowl as well, so I'm probably going to get it in on Saturday. So we'll see.